An ancient civilization built a machine of stone that defies modern explanation. The Great Pyramid of Giza holds a hidden blueprint within its core, a master plan revealing engineering secrets lost for thousands of years. By the end of this journey, you will understand how its builders achieved the impossible. We will uncover how they aligned massive structures with the stars and cut stones with laser-like precision. What single question about our own history does this incredible structure force you to ask? That first critical step, the very foundation of this entire endeavor, was not a matter of chance, but of profound geological insight. The pyramids were anchored upon a secret already written into the earth itself, a natural blueprint of solid limestone bedrock on the Giza Plateau. This was not just any rock. It was a specific geological formation, a layer of nummulitic limestone, chosen with a purpose that speaks volumes about its builders' understanding of the land. This stone is incredibly dense and stable, capable of bearing the staggering weight of millions of blocks without shifting or settling over the ages. Think of it like building a skyscraper. You would not construct it on sand. You would drive pilings down to the most solid rock you could find. The ancient Egyptians did the same thing, but they identified that perfect foundation across a vast area using only their eyes, their experience, and a deep knowledge of the earth. How could they possibly have achieved such a selection without modern core samples or geological surveys? Their intimate connection to the land, passed down through generations, gave them this wisdom. They read the landscape like we read a map, but selecting the perfect site was only half the battle. The next challenge was even more daunting, leveling that massive foundation. The base of the Great Pyramid sprawls across 13 acres, an area equivalent to several city blocks, yet its corners are leveled to within a fraction of an inch. This is an accuracy that would be impressive even with today's laser-guided equipment. So how was it done? The most compelling theory points to a brilliantly simple yet effective method, a network of water-filled trenches cut into the bedrock. By digging a grid of channels and filling them with water, they created a giant, naturally level surface. The water, seeking its own level, would provide a perfect horizontal reference point across the entire site. Stonemasons could then cut the bedrock down to the waterline, ensuring every single point of contact was perfectly flat. This foundational work, this hidden masterpiece of civil engineering lying beneath the sand, was the silent guarantee of the pyramid's immortality. It was the unsung first act of genius that made all the subsequent miracles of construction possible. With the foundation perfectly level, the builders then turned their gaze upward to the heavens. The first great secret of their design lies not just in the earth, but in the stars. The three pyramids of Giza are arranged in a pattern that mirrors the three stars of Orion's belt with astonishing precision. This was far more than symbolic worship. It was a functional, grand-scale blueprint, transforming the entire Giza Plateau into a reflection of the cosmos. This celestial map served a dual purpose, acting as a giant astronomical clock and an agricultural calendar essential for predicting the life-giving Nile floods. But the connection runs even deeper, straight into the heart of the Great Pyramid itself. Narrow shafts, often mistaken for ventilation, were drilled from the inner chambers outward. These are not random tunnels. One shaft from the king's chamber points directly to the star Sirius, while another from the queen's chamber targets Alpha Draconis, the pole star of that era. These stars held profound religious significance, but their alignment also provided a perpetual celestial clock, tracking the seasons with unerring accuracy. To achieve this, the builders had to account for a subtle, grand-scale motion of the Earth known as precession. This is the slow, cyclical wobble of our planet's axis, a cycle that takes 26,000 years to complete. It minutely shifts the position of all stars in the night sky over centuries. How could an ancient civilization possibly calculate for a celestial drift that takes millennia to manifest? This level of precision suggests something extraordinary. It implies they possessed observational records and astronomical knowledge that were meticulously gathered and passed down across countless generations. This data was then literally set in stone, encoded into the pyramid's very orientation for eternity. The celestial blueprint was their master plan, a fixed point in the sky that guided every subsequent measurement on the ground. Yet, this mastery of the heavens leads to a more tangible mystery back on Earth. How did they translate this grand celestial design into such perfectly shaped and placed stone blocks? This celestial precision translated directly into a hidden mathematical code. The Great Pyramid's design is a silent repository for fundamental constants of our universe, numbers that would not be formally named for thousands of years. The most startling example is the constant pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. If you take the pyramid's original perimeter and divide it by twice its height, the result is a value incredibly close to pi. This is not a random occurrence. It suggests the builders used a construction principle that inherently encoded this ratio, perhaps by designing a square whose perimeter equaled the circumference of a circle with a radius equal to the pyramid's height. It is a breathtakingly elegant mathematical trick set in stone. Alongside pi, we find the golden ratio, often called phi. This is the unique number, approximately 1.618, that appears repeatedly in nature, from the spiral of a nautilus shell to the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower. The proportions within the pyramid's inner chambers and the very relationship between its base and its height resonate with this divine proportion. The presence of both pi and phi is too precise, too interwoven into the core geometry, to be dismissed as mere chance. It was a deliberate act of architectural encryption. This raises a profound and unsettling question. How did a civilization from the Age of Bronze possess knowledge of mathematical constants that would only be formally defined by the Greeks and later mathematicians millennia in the future? The answer may lie in the pyramid's ultimate purpose. It was not just a tomb, it was a time capsule. The blueprint was a way to preserve this sacred, advanced knowledge, embedding it into a structure so permanent and so massive that it would withstand the collapse of empires and survive to whisper its secrets to future generations. This mathematical elegance is not just a curiosity. It points to a lost chapter in human history, a deeper understanding of the very fabric of the universe, hidden for ages in plain sight within the angles and dimensions of stacked limestone blocks. This mathematical perfection, however, would have been meaningless without the physical ability to shape the very stone itself. And here we encounter the third great secret, one that defies belief when you stand before the monument. Each of the millions of limestone and granite blocks was cut and finished with a precision that borders on the impossible. The joints between the massive stones are so perfectly seamless that you cannot slide a razor blade between them. This is not just skilled craftsmanship. This is a level of accuracy that suggests tools and techniques we have yet to fully comprehend. They were not merely stacking blocks, they were interlocking them. Recent scans have revealed hidden internal structures, complex joints like dovetails and toggle bolts carved directly into the granite. Think of it like a giant, incredibly heavy three-dimensional puzzle. These joints distributed the immense weight of the pyramid evenly, creating a structure that could flex and sway during an earthquake instead of crumbling. It is an ancient form of seismic engineering perfected thousands of years before the term was even invented. But this leads to the monumental question. How were these multi-ton blocks quarried, transported, and placed with such breathtaking accuracy? The conventional explanation of copper chisels and stone hammers seems utterly inadequate, especially when facing the pyramid's inner chambers made of granite, one of the hardest rocks on Earth. The blueprint hints at lost, almost alchemical knowledge. Some researchers propose they used sound resonance, specific sonic frequencies that could have vibrated the stone to a point where it could be shaped more easily. Others point to the possibility of chemical compounds, plant-based solutions that could temporarily soften granite, allowing artisans to work it almost like clay. The presence of trace metals found in core samples suggests they might have used metal ties, perhaps a form of ancient rebar, to bind key stones together from within. This was not brute force. It was a sophisticated, multi-stage process of engineering that rivals, and in some ways surpasses, what we can achieve with modern machinery. The ability to quarry a 200-ton block of granite, float it down the Nile, and then lift it to a height of several hundred feet, all while maintaining those hairline joints, is a logistical nightmare even by today's standards. The secret of their stone cutting reveals a terrifying truth, that the builders of the pyramids operated with a technological prowess that we are only just beginning to decode. And if they could manipulate stone with such ease, what other secrets of their world have been completely lost to time? The seamless joints between the stones lead our eyes upward, but the pyramid's true engineering genius may be hidden within its own massive heart. Deep beneath the known chambers and passageways, modern technology has revealed voids and spaces that have been sealed for millennia. Using techniques like Muon tomography, which is like taking an X-ray of the mountain of stone using cosmic rays, scientists have detected large, unexplained cavities. These are not just empty pockets. Ancient texts refer to such spaces as houses of energy, rooms designed not for burial, but for a purpose far more dynamic. The most striking of the known structures is the Grand Gallery. This is not a simple corridor. Its towering, corbelled walls rise in 7 overlapping steps, creating a soaring space that acts as a phenomenal acoustic amplifier. A single whisper at one end can be heard with perfect clarity at the other. This was not an accident of design. It was a carefully engineered resonance chamber. Imagine a ritual here with chanting or the striking of a specific frequency of singing bowl. The entire gallery would come alive, the sound waves magnified and focused, vibrating through the very stone. Could this vibrational energy have been harnessed for something, perhaps to purify water, to alter the state of consciousness, or even to facilitate the levitation of those massive building blocks? This idea moves the pyramid from a static tomb to a living, breathing machine. And this leads to the compelling question of why these chambers, once used, were so perfectly sealed. It suggests their function was temporary, or that the knowledge they contained was so potent it needed to be locked away after its initial use. The internal blueprint reveals a structure with a split personality, part temple for spiritual ceremony and part laboratory for advanced scientific experiment. Each room had a designated role in a grand, interconnected process we are only beginning to grasp. Unsealing these hidden areas would not just reveal empty rooms. It would be like finding the lost user manual for the entire pyramid, finally allowing us to understand the true intent of its creators and leading us directly to the structure's ultimate and most controversial purpose. The idea of a pyramid humming with resonant energy leads to another equally profound question. How did they supply the sheer power required for such a machine? The answer may not lie in the stones above, but in the water flowing below. The fifth secret reveals the pyramid was not a solitary monument of dry land, but the heart of a vast, advanced hydraulic system. Evidence points to a sprawling network of canals and harbors built right up to the edge of the Giza Plateau. These were not just decorative moats, they were functional waterways, the ancient equivalent of a modern industrial port. Imagine multi-ton blocks of granite and limestone, each one a small mountain, being loaded onto specially designed barges. Here, the builders employed a fundamental law of physics to their overwhelming advantage: buoyancy. On land, moving a 70-ton block requires overcoming immense friction, a task for thousands of laborers straining against ropes. But on water, that same block becomes almost weightless, floating effortlessly. A small team with oars or a guiding rope could maneuver it with a level of control and efficiency that brute force could never achieve. This hydraulic highway system transformed an impossible logistical nightmare into a manageable, almost graceful operation. The stones literally sailed to the construction site, but the water's role was far more complex than just transportation. Deep beneath the plateau, subterranean channels were carefully engineered to manage the groundwater table. This was a critical, hidden piece of the foundation's stability. Without this control, seasonal floods or natural seepage could have slowly eroded the bedrock from below, dooming the structure to eventual collapse over centuries. How did they achieve such precise hydraulic control without modern pumps and sensors? The blueprint indicates a sophisticated understanding of fluid dynamics, employing sluice gates to regulate water flow, locks to raise and lower barges between different canal levels, and inclined planes lubricated with water to guide the final movement of blocks from the harbor to the rising pyramid face. This was civil engineering on a colossal scale. This revelation shifts the pyramid's entire narrative. It was not just a tomb or a temple. It was likely a central component in a grander, civilization-wide project to manage the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile River. Its construction may have served a dual purpose, creating an eternal monument while also developing the hydraulic infrastructure needed to predict and control the annual floods that made agriculture possible in the desert. The pyramid, therefore, was not an isolated wonder. It was the crown jewel of a water-managed landscape, a machine that helped a civilization not only build for the afterlife, but also master the very forces that sustained its daily life. This ability to channel water hints at an even greater command over the unseen forces of nature. The pyramid's very shape acts as a powerful lens for energy. Scientific experiments using radio waves have demonstrated something extraordinary. The Great Pyramid can concentrate electromagnetic energy, focusing it into its internal chambers and the space directly beneath its base. It does not simply block these energies, it gathers and amplifies them, creating pockets of intense resonance. Think of how a singer can shatter a glass by hitting the precise note that makes it vibrate. Now imagine an entire structure engineered to do the same thing with the natural frequencies of the Earth itself. This was not passive architecture. It was an active receiver, a resonant cavity designed to hum in harmony with the planet. The materials chosen were critical to this function. The granite used in the king's chamber is packed with quartz crystals. When quartz is compressed or vibrated, it generates a small electrical charge, a phenomenon we call piezoelectricity. With millions of tons of stone pressing down, and with sound waves resonating through the grand gallery, these embedded crystals could have produced measurable electrical currents. Was the pyramid, therefore, an ancient power plant? Its internal blueprint seems to detail this very purpose, a system for aligning the structure with Earth's magnetic fields and even cosmic rays from deep space. The chambers were not just rooms, they were tuned capacitors. The shafts were not just star-aligned passages, they were waveguides for specific energies. This revelation completely upends our perception of ancient technology. It suggests the builders were not merely stacking stones to reach the heavens. They were constructing a sophisticated machine to tap into the fundamental energies of the universe, energies that modern science is only just beginning to understand and quantify. They may have used this harnessed power for purposes we can scarcely envision, from advanced healing therapies to forms of communication lost to time. The pyramid stands as a silent testament to a science that viewed energy, matter, and consciousness as parts of a single, interconnected system, a blueprint for a technology that worked with the world, not against it. This fusion of spiritual vision and physical engineering is the seventh and perhaps most profound secret. The pyramid stones are not merely arranged, they are composed in a language of sacred geometry. Every angle, every corridor, and every chamber is a deliberate sentence in a story carved from limestone and light. The long, narrow ascending passage is not just a physical climb. It is a symbolic representation of the soul's arduous journey toward the stars, a difficult path leading from the mortal world to the realm of the gods. At its end lies the Grand Gallery, a space that feels more like a celestial gateway than a hallway. Its soaring, corbelled ceiling evokes the wings of a divine bird carrying the pharaoh's spirit upward. And finally, the king's chamber itself, built from dense, resonating granite, is the ultimate destination. This room was not designed for a body to decay, but for a consciousness to transform. Its precise alignment and dimensions were calculated to facilitate rituals of resurrection, to provide the spiritual energy needed for the soul's rebirth among the imperishable stars. This was not arbitrary mysticism. It was a detailed architectural blueprint based on sacred texts like the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings in the world. These spells and incantations were not just recited, they were physically built into the very fabric of the monument. How did they so perfectly integrate these abstract spiritual concepts with the hard physics of engineering? The answer lies in their worldview, where science and spirituality were not separate disciplines but two sides of the same golden coin. To understand the mathematics of the heavens was to comprehend the mind of the divine. To align a structure with the stars was to plug it directly into the cosmos's power grid. This union allowed them to construct what can only be described as a machine for immortality. The pyramid was a gateway, a stable, permanent portal designed to bridge the world of the living and the world of the eternal. It was a cosmological map in 3 dimensions, a user manual for the soul's journey through the afterlife. Every measurement was a prayer, every perfectly fitted block a verse in an epic poem dedicated to transcending death itself. This symbolic layer reveals that the true purpose of the pyramid was far greater than housing a corpse. It was an active instrument for achieving a state beyond our physical understanding, a resonant machine whose final secret is only now coming into focus. This logistical masterpiece was built on the backs of a highly organized society, not a mass of oppressed slaves. The 8th secret reveals a blueprint of human coordination so advanced it would impress any modern CEO. Recent excavations of worker villages near the Giza Plateau have uncovered bakeries producing thousands of loaves of bread, evidence of massive fish and meat consumption, and medical facilities capable of treating complex injuries like set bones. These were not slaves, but a rotating workforce of skilled Egyptian laborers who were well fed, housed, and cared for. How did they maintain such high morale and staggering efficiency over the decades, even centuries, such a project demanded? The answer lies in a management structure of military precision. A clear hierarchy was in place with specialized teams for every single task. There were quarrymen who understood the grain of the stone, transporters who mastered the art of moving multi-ton blocks, ramp builders, levelers, and the elite setters who performed the final, precise placement of each block. Each team had its own foremen and scribes who kept meticulous records on papyrus and limestone flakes, tracking daily progress, material usage, and even worker attendance. This was the ancient world's most complex supply chain in action. Imagine the constant flow of materials, food, and tools that had to be synchronized. Barges of limestone arriving from the quarries had to be met by empty barges heading back. The production of copper chisels in distant workshops had to match the rate at which they were being blunted at the construction site. This required a master schedule, a grand timeline that planned not for weeks or months but for generations. The incentive was not a whip, but a shared cultural and spiritual purpose. To work on the pharaoh's eternal home was a sacred duty, a guaranteed path to honor in this life and the next. This organizational genius, this human blueprint, ensured that every ounce of effort and every resource was perfectly optimized, transforming a chaotic undertaking into a smooth, relentless, and awe-inspiring machine. It stands as a timeless lesson in what humanity can achieve with a clear vision and impeccable organization, a legacy of management that is only now being fully understood. That same celestial precision that guided their spiritual journey also dictated the rhythm of daily life on Earth. The ninth secret reveals the pyramids as a master clock for an entire civilization, a giant stone calendar perfectly synchronized with the sun and stars. This was not abstract stargazing, it was practical astronomy woven into the very fabric of survival. The structures were engineered to mark the solstices and equinoxes with unerring accuracy. At noon on the summer solstice, the sun would be positioned directly overhead, casting the pyramid's shadow at its absolute shortest, a clear, dramatic signal that the Nile's life-giving flood was imminent. This single shadow, sweeping across the plateau, told an entire nation when to prepare their fields and move their livestock. It was a public announcement carved into the landscape itself. But the calendar function went even deeper into the pyramid's dark interior. Specific corridors and shafts were designed as precise sighting tubes. On the morning of the spring equinox, for example, the rising sun would have sent a beam of light directly down a predetermined shaft, illuminating a specific marker deep inside the monument for just a few moments each year. This was the trigger for religious festivals, the start of the planting season, and the official new year. How could they possibly design such a precise instrument without lenses or telescopes? The blueprint included open-air observatory platforms on the Giza Plateau, fixed stone markers that acted as permanent backsites for priests and astronomers. They used simple but brilliant tools like the Merkit, a forked sighting stick paired with a plumb bob to track the meridian passage of key stars. This allowed them to create a fixed celestial map against which all other movements could be measured. They did not need advanced optics because they had something far more powerful: patience. They accumulated observational data over centuries, with each generation of star watchers adding to a growing body of knowledge that was then permanently encoded into the pyramid's angles. This transforms our understanding of the pyramid's purpose. It was a central processing unit for the entire Egyptian agricultural and religious economy. Its walls held the schedule for the kingdom, predicting the seasons that governed food, water, and faith. This secret shows the pyramid not as an isolated tomb, but as the beating heart of a society that had mastered its environment by looking to the skies, a testament to how deeply our ancestors understood the connection between the cosmos and their own survival. This mastery of climate was as vital as their command of stone and star. The pyramid's enduring form is a direct result of an intimate understanding of the Egyptian environment. engineered to be resilient against the desert's relentless extremes. Its outer skin was once a brilliant shield of polished white Chora limestone, acting as a massive mirror to the sun. This casing did more than just dazzle the eye, it actively defended the structure. By reflecting the intense solar radiation, these stones prevented the internal temperature from soaring to destructive levels, protecting the delicate inner chambers and the mortar binding the core blocks. The pyramid did not just sit in the heat, it actively managed it. Hidden within its mass, the same shafts used for celestial observation doubled as a sophisticated ventilation system. These channels created a constant, gentle flow of air, drawing in cooler air from the base and expelling warmer, moisture-laden air from the higher chambers. This passive climate control prevented the buildup of humidity that could have eroded the interior walls over centuries. The very shape of the pyramid was a stroke of aerodynamic genius. Unlike a flat-faced wall that would trap the wind and create destructive pressure, the pyramid's sloping sides allow the fierce desert winds to slide smoothly up and over its form. This dramatically reduces wind erosion and prevents sand from accumulating in great drifts against its base. How could an ancient civilization design with such foresight? Their blueprint was written by the land itself. Generations of living in the Nile Valley taught them the patterns of the scorching Khamsin winds, the rare but devastating potential of flash floods, and the daily expansion and contraction of stone under the sun. They did not fight their environment, they collaborated with it, designing a structure that worked in harmony with the forces that would have destroyed a lesser building. This ancient principle of sustainable design, born from necessity and profound observation, is something modern architects are only now rediscovering as we strive to create buildings that are both elegant and energy efficient. The pyramid stands as a 4,500-year-old lesson in resilience, a testament to building not just for grandeur but for eternity. This mastery of the environment extended to the very molecules of the pyramid itself. The 11th secret reveals that the Egyptians were not just master builders, they were material scientists of the highest order, manipulating stone and mortar with a knowledge that borders on alchemy. The mortar binding the great limestone blocks has been analyzed, and the results are baffling. It is not a simple mixture of mud and straw. It contains synthetic compounds with a crystalline structure that does not occur naturally. This suggests a deliberate chemical process, a recipe for creating a binder that was engineered to be stronger and more durable than the stone it joined. How could an ancient civilization produce such a sophisticated substance? The blueprint hints at lost formulas, perhaps involving heated mineral mixes or plant-based reagents that created a primitive form of geopolymer, a type of ancient concrete. This idea challenges our entire perception of their construction methods. Some of the stones, particularly the complexly shaped blocks in the inner chambers, show textures and mineral distributions that are inconsistent with being cut from a quarry. Instead, they bear the hallmarks of being cast in place, almost like a modern builder pouring cement into a formwork. Imagine artisans not just carving stone, but cooking it, creating a slurry that could be poured and molded to fit any precise, complex shape, eliminating the need for impossibly perfect joints. This was not simple masonry, it was a form of molecular manipulation. The goal was not just to build, but to create a monolithic structure, a single, continuous mass of engineered stone that would behave as one solid unit. This explains the pyramid's incredible resistance to earthquakes. It does not just stack blocks, it is fused into a single entity. The implications are staggering. It means the builders possessed a deep understanding of chemistry and physics that allowed them to design materials with specific properties, perhaps even composites with self-healing capabilities that could seal tiny cracks over time. This secret suggests a technological peak that was lost for millennia, a knowledge of how to reorganize matter itself, leaving behind a silent, stone testament to a science we are only now beginning to rediscover. This mastery over matter extended into the invisible world of sound. The pyramid's chambers are not silent tombs, but finely tuned acoustic instruments. When you stand in the Grand Gallery and speak, your voice is transformed. It does not simply echo, it amplifies and clarifies, as if the very stones are listening and repeating your words back with greater power. This is no accident of construction. It is sonic engineering of the highest order. Specific frequencies, particularly those in the range of human chanting or the deep tone of a ceremonial bowl, would have resonated through the granite, causing the entire chamber to hum with vibrational energy. Imagine a ritual where priests used these sounds not for ceremony alone, but for a tangible effect on the human body. Modern experiments have shown that low-frequency vibrations can alter brainwave patterns, guiding the mind into deep meditative or trance-like states. This was likely their true purpose. The pyramid was a machine for consciousness. How could they possibly design for such a precise acoustic effect without any modern modeling software? The blueprint held the answer in the stone itself. The builders calculated the reflection and absorption of sound waves using the granite's incredible density and the specific angles of the chamber walls. They shaped the space to trap and amplify certain frequencies while canceling out others, creating a resonant cavity that worked directly on the human nervous system. This reveals a breathtakingly holistic vision of technology. For the pyramid's architects, there was no separation between a building's physical structure and its effect on the human spirit. The stones were chosen and placed to interact with our biology, using sound as the bridge. This sonic secret shows us that the pyramid's ultimate function was to facilitate a transformation from one state of being to another, using the physics of vibration to achieve a spiritual goal. That sonic resonance, designed to transform consciousness, was anchored to a point of profound global significance. The 13th secret reveals the Great Pyramid as the heart of the world, a geodetic marker placed with impossible precision. Its location is not a random choice of desert real estate. It sits at the exact center of Earth's total landmass, the precise geodetic center of all the continents combined. This is a statistical marvel that could not have been achieved by chance. It means the builders did not just understand their local geography, they possessed a comprehensive map of the entire planet. They knew the shape and scale of the world long before the age of exploration. This global knowledge is literally carved into the pyramid's dimensions. The relationship between the pyramid's original height and the perimeter of its base encodes a representation of the Earth's polar radius. If you take the height and multiply it by a specific, round number, you arrive at a figure for the polar radius that is accurate to within a tiny fraction. Similarly, the perimeter of the base corresponds to the equatorial circumference, with an equally minuscule margin of error. They built a scale model of the northern hemisphere out of solid stone. How could a Bronze Age civilization measure a planet they could not possibly have circumnavigated? The blueprint hints at a lost epoch of exploration, a precursor civilization that mapped the globe using astronomical methods we have since forgotten. They could have used the stars as a giant celestial grid, measuring the angles of specific constellations from different points across the continents. By comparing these observations over vast distances, they could triangulate the curvature of the Earth itself. This was not just science for science's sake. A structure placed at the planet's geodetic center would function as the ultimate navigational anchor, a true north for the entire ancient world. It aligns with other sacred sites across the globe, suggesting it was part of a worldwide network of energy points or astronomical observatories. This secret forces us to rewrite our history books. It implies that the pyramids' builders were the inheritors of a sophisticated, global understanding of our world, a knowledge that was later fragmented and lost. The pyramid stands as a silent, stone witness to that forgotten age of discovery, its very location a permanent testament to a time when humanity saw the Earth not as a flat expanse, but as a single, interconnected sphere, with this one perfect point at its very core. This global positioning required a construction timeline of almost unimaginable scale and coordination. The 14th secret reveals the pyramid not as a single, frantic project, but as a masterpiece of phased engineering, built in deliberate, calculated stages over generations. The core of the structure rose first, a massive, stable platform of roughly dressed local limestone. This inner mass provided the essential anchor and the foundation upon which everything else depended. Only after this core was secure and stable did the specialized work begin, the precise placement of the finer outer casing stones and the intricate internal chambers. This was not a random process. It was a carefully choreographed sequence, a blueprint for action that unfolded over decades. How did they manage such a complex, multi-generational schedule without the detailed written records we would expect? The answer lies in a system of iterative testing and real-time adaptation. The master architects were not distant planners, they were hands-on supervisors walking the rising tiers of the structure daily. They oversaw each phase, constantly checking alignments with the stars and measuring angles with simple but effective tools. If a section of the core showed the slightest settlement or a misalignment was detected, they could correct it in the very next course of stones. This was a living, breathing construction process capable of learning and adjusting as it grew. The famous ramps were not a single, monolithic structure either. They were likely a complex network of spiraling or straight inclined ramps, built and then dismantled, their design evolving as the pyramid reached for the sky. Levers and counterweights made from giant bags of sand were used to make the final, delicate adjustments, positioning multi-ton blocks with an accuracy we still struggle to comprehend. This phased approach was a stroke of logistical genius. It allowed for the distribution of resources, preventing bottlenecks in the supply chain. It minimized risk by ensuring that the foundational work was absolutely sound before more delicate and expensive materials, like the granite for the king's chamber, were ever brought to the site. This ancient strategy of breaking a monumental task into manageable, sequential phases is a project management principle that modern engineers still study when confronting skyscrapers and massive bridges. The pyramid stands as a timeless lesson in patience and procedural excellence, a testament to what humanity can achieve not through haste, but through the relentless, disciplined application of a master plan, one perfect stone at a time. That grand, multi-generational timeline was not focused on a single monument. The Great Pyramid was the centerpiece of a sprawling, integrated complex, a city of stone built to a single, unified master plan. It was never meant to stand alone. Surrounding it were smaller pyramids for queens, massive temples for rituals, and long, enclosed causeways that connected the world of the living to the realm of the eternal. Each of these satellite structures was precisely aligned with the main pyramid, and with each other, creating a vast, open-air cathedral under the desert sky. How could they possibly coordinate the construction of so many different buildings, each with its own unique function and architectural challenges, all at the same time? The answer lies in a societal blueprint of breathtaking scope. This was not just a construction project, it was the ultimate expression of a civilization's worldview, where every element of architecture worked in concert to support the community's spiritual and physical life. The causeways, for instance, were not just symbolic pathways. They were functional ramps, the final stage of the hydraulic highway, guiding blocks from the canals directly to the rising pyramid faces. The adjacent temples were not only places of worship but also administrative centers and workshops, buzzing with the activity of scribes, priests, and artisans. This integrated design reveals a holistic vision we have largely lost. The pyramid complex was a single, living organism. The placement of the Sphinx, the angles of the Valley Temple, the orientation of the workers' villages, all of it was calculated to create a harmonious flow of people, materials, and spiritual energy. This was a sophisticated urban plan carved from limestone, a blueprint for a society where the divine and the daily were seamlessly intertwined. To achieve this, the master architects must have worked from a single, monumental site plan, a drawing so detailed it accounted for the placement of every structure for miles around. This level of coordination points to the final, crucial element of their genius, the very tools they used to translate this grand vision from parchment into perfect, enduring stone. The seamless integration of the entire pyramid complex points to one final, tangible mystery. What instruments could possibly carve granite with such surgical precision or measure angles across acres with microscopic accuracy? The tools left behind whisper a story far more advanced than the simple copper chisels and stone hammers we often picture. Core samples drilled from granite blocks reveal spiraling grooves that are too deep, too fast, and too regular to have been made by a handheld tool with a soft copper bit. The evidence suggests they used drill bits tipped with fragments of a material harder than granite itself, most likely diamonds or another supremely hard abrasive crystal. These drills were not twirled by hand. They were mounted in machines, perhaps bow-driven or weighted with heavy stones, capable of applying immense, consistent pressure while being fed with a slurry of water and crushed abrasive sand. This combination of mechanical force and advanced material science allowed them to hollow out the sarcophagi and bore through solid stone as if it were soft wood. But drilling was only one part of the puzzle. The surfaces of the finished limestone blocks are so perfectly flat that they interlock with a precision we associate with modern optical manufacturing. How did they achieve such a flawless finish? They likely used precision saws. These were not toothed blades, but long, flat strips of copper dragged back and forth across a stone surface, with the same abrasive sand slurry acting as the cutting agent. The sand, composed of quartz, is harder than the limestone, so each pull of the saw embedded millions of microscopic cutting teeth into the copper, grinding the stone down to a perfectly smooth plane over time. This was a subtractive manufacturing process of incredible patience and control. The true marvel, however, lies in their measurement. How did they ensure that every block, cut miles away in a quarry, would fit perfectly into its designated spot in the rising pyramid? They used instruments of astonishing accuracy. Their levels employed water to find a perfect horizontal, while their sighting tools, like the Merkit, could track the transit of a star with arc-second precision. They likely had standardized wooden cubit rods and angle templates, mass-produced and distributed to every work site to guarantee uniformity. But the most compelling question remains. How were these advanced tools powered and manufactured on an industrial scale? The blueprint hints at workshops humming with innovation, using water wheels from the nearby canals to drive polishing wheels, or large, treadle-operated lathes for shaping hard stone vessels. They may have even harnessed animal power in capstans to provide the relentless rotational force needed for their diamond-tipped drills. This was not a static technology. It was a culture of continuous improvement where each project demanded new solutions and better tools. The faint traces they left behind, the specific wear patterns on a drill core, the microscopic striations on a finished surface tell a story of ingenious engineering. This secret challenges the very narrative of primitive technology, revealing a society that was not just building with stone, but was actively inventing the machines needed to shape their world, leaving a legacy of innovation literally set in stone. That seamless fusion of tool and belief brings us to the very soul of the structure. The Great Pyramid is far more than an engineering marvel. It is a profound religious statement carved from the living rock. Every single aspect of its design was a deliberate act of devotion, a physical prayer intended to bridge the gap between the mortal world and the divine. Its perfect alignment with the four cardinal directions was not merely a display of astronomical skill. It was a symbolic act of ordering chaos, of creating a sacred microcosm of a stable universe. The pyramid itself represented the primordial mound of creation, the Benben, from which the Egyptian gods first brought life into existence. To be buried within it was to be placed at the very center of that creative energy, guaranteeing a rebirth as potent as the dawn of the world. So how did they translate these vast, abstract spiritual concepts into such a tangible, monumental form? The blueprint was a sacred document, a set of divine instructions interpreted by a powerful class of priest architects. These individuals were not just engineers, they were the keepers of celestial knowledge and religious law. They saw the pyramid as a resonant machine for the soul, a device designed to facilitate the pharaoh's journey to join the circumpolar stars, the so-called imperishable ones. The long, arduous ascending passage was a physical representation of the soul's difficult climb toward the heavens. The Grand Gallery, with its soaring, corbelled ceiling, was the moment of spiritual release, the gateway to the realm of the gods. And the final destination, the King's Chamber, was not a tomb for a corpse but a transformation chamber for a consciousness. Its stark, resonating granite walls were designed to amplify specific rituals and chants, using sonic energy to assist the spirit in its final passage. This cultural imperative was the engine behind the entire project. The drive to achieve immortality, to secure a place among the gods, provided the overwhelming motivation that sustained this civilization for generations. It was this unity of engineering and faith that allowed them to achieve the impossible, because for them it was not impossible at all, it was a sacred duty. The legacy they left behind is not just a pile of stones, but a permanent question for us. In our modern world, where science and spirituality are often seen as separate, even opposing forces, the pyramid stands as a silent, monumental rebuke. It challenges us to remember that our greatest achievements may not come from technology alone, but from a unified vision that marries the precision of the mind with the yearning of the human spirit. That sacred geometry and flawless engineering did not vanish with the sands of Egypt. The pyramid's blueprint became a silent teacher, its core principles rippling outward across centuries and continents to shape the very foundations of Western civilization. The Greeks, masters of their own architectural revolution, looked to Egypt with profound respect. You can see the echo of Giza's precision in the flawless marble joints of the Parthenon, blocks cut so perfectly they required no mortar, a direct descendant of the pyramid's seamless stonework. The Romans, pragmatic engineers of an empire, absorbed these lessons on a colossal scale. Their massive aqueducts and the soaring dome of the Pantheon stand as testaments to a deep understanding of load distribution and geometric proportion, principles first mastered on the Giza Plateau. But how did this intricate knowledge, this master blueprint for building the impossible, traverse such vast stretches of time and space? The routes were as varied as the cultures themselves. Trade caravans carried not just spices and silks, but also ideas. Skilled stonemasons and architects, the intellectual property of their age, traveled between kingdoms, taking their core understanding of stress and geometry with them. Some historians suggest this sacred knowledge was preserved and protected by secret societies, initiatory schools that passed the geometric truths from master to apprentice in an unbroken, though hidden, chain. This was not a simple copying of styles, but a transfer of fundamental principles. The pyramid's encoded ratios, like the golden mean, reappear in the floor plans of Greek temples and the facades of Renaissance cathedrals. Its obsession with celestial alignment is mirrored in the solstice-focused designs of Stonehenge and other megalithic sites across Europe. The pyramid was a living library, its stones holding a curriculum for advanced civilization. This enduring influence forces a dramatic re-evaluation of history. It suggests that human progress is not a series of isolated explosions of genius, but a continuous, interconnected thread. The brilliance of Rome and the grandeur of Gothic architecture are, in part, a legacy of that original, monumental achievement in the Egyptian desert. The pyramid's greatest secret may not be how it was built, but how its blueprint for eternity became the foundational code for the architectural world that followed, a silent teacher whose lessons are still being studied and admired today. These silent stones are finally beginning to speak, their secrets teased out not by picks and shovels, but by beams of invisible particles from deep space. Modern science has handed us the keys to the pyramid's inner sanctum without ever cracking a single block. Using a technique called Muon tomography, which essentially takes a cosmic X-ray of the entire structure, researchers have confirmed the existence of large, mysterious voids deep within the Great Pyramid. These are not minor cracks or natural fissures. They are substantial architectural spaces, hidden chambers that have been sealed away from human eyes for 4,500 years. But the revelations do not stop there. High-resolution laser scanning has mapped the exterior with sub-millimeter precision, revealing subtle distortions and construction seams invisible to the naked eye. These scans show how the builders adapted their work in real time, correcting for settling or misalignment course by course. They have even detected anomalous heat signatures and the presence of unusual metals embedded within the core masonry, materials that should not be present in a simple pile of limestone blocks. So how does this flood of new data fundamentally reshape our old theories? It systematically dismantles the idea of the pyramid as a static, one-purpose tomb. The voids suggest a multi-chambered machine. The hidden materials hint at functions we have not yet dreamed of. Each new scan is like finding a new page from a lost user manual, forcing us to reassemble the blueprint in real time. This is no longer a puzzle for archaeologists alone. The mystery now demands a fusion of disciplines. Particle physicists analyze cosmic ray data to map the hidden architecture. Materials scientists examine core samples for traces of ancient chemical processes. Structural engineers run digital simulations to understand how the weight is distributed around these newly discovered voids. The pyramid has become a collaborative laboratory, a single, grand question that can only be answered when these diverse fields converge. The most exciting implication is that we have likely only uncovered the first layer of its secrets. The very fact that these voids remained completely unknown until the 21st century is a humbling reminder. It tells us that the original blueprint was far more complex and the builders far more ingenious than we ever gave them credit for. The Great Pyramid is not a closed book. It is a story that is still being written, with every technological advance offering a new chapter waiting to be read. These scans of hidden chambers and advanced tools inevitably lead to a profound and controversial question. If the ancient Egyptians alone built the pyramids, how do we explain the sheer, breathtaking scope of their achievement? This gap between what we believe they had and what they demonstrably accomplished has given rise to some of history's most captivating theories. Some propose the builders were not the Egyptians of recorded history, but a far older, more advanced civilization, a society that flourished and then vanished, leaving only these colossal stone calling cards behind. Others look to the stars, suggesting the blueprint itself was delivered by extraterrestrial visitors who provided the technology and knowledge that primitive humans lacked. These ideas, while often dismissed by mainstream archaeology, spring from a very real sense of wonder and disbelief. When you stand before a structure that encodes the dimensions of the planet and aligns with stars whose positions shift over millennia, the traditional narrative of copper chisels and ramps can feel insufficient. It is a response to the awe the pyramid inspires, a search for an explanation that matches the grandeur of the monument itself. So how do we weigh these extraordinary claims against the hard evidence of archaeology? The worker villages, the quarries, the hieroglyphic accounts of organization all point to a massive, sophisticated, and entirely human enterprise. The development of pyramid construction shows clear evolution, from the stepped pyramid of Djoser to the smooth-sided perfection of Giza, a timeline of gradual innovation and accumulated skill. The blueprint in its entirety is a testament to human ingenuity, not a user manual for alien technology. Yet, the possibility of some outside influence, whether from a lost human culture or an unknown source, remains a tantalizing mystery. It is the blank space on the map, the question for which we still lack a definitive answer. Perhaps the truth is not a simple choice between one explanation or the other, but a more complex tapestry. Could a highly developed, indigenous civilization have possessed knowledge that was later lost in a cataclysm, with only fragments surviving in myth and stone? This secret does not ask us to believe in ancient astronauts or sunken continents, but simply to keep an open mind. The Great Pyramid has defied explanation for ages, and its greatest lesson may be that the story of human history is far richer and far stranger than we have yet been willing to admit. That lingering sense of awe is not a modern invention. It is the 21st secret, the pyramid's enduring psychological power over the human mind. These structures do more than dominate the skyline, they colonize our imagination. Their sheer, impossible scale and geometric purity trigger a deep, almost primal response, a feeling of wonder that is both humbling and inspiring. You stand before them and are forced to confront the staggering capabilities of your own species. This is not a random effect. The pyramid's blueprint is a masterclass in tapping into universal human archetypes. Its perfect symmetry speaks to our deep longing for order in a chaotic world. Its upward thrust toward the heavens mirrors our own desire for transcendence, for reaching beyond our mortal limits, and its sheer, audacious achievement stands as a permanent monument to human potential, a challenge flung across the centuries to every generation that follows. Why do they continue to captivate artists, writers, and dreamers? Because they are a mirror. They reflect back to us not just who we were, but who we aspire to be. They are a silent, stone question that asks what we could accomplish if we united our efforts with a single, visionary purpose. This psychological resonance is the final, unshakable layer of their mystery, ensuring that as long as humanity looks to the horizon and wonders what is possible, the pyramids will be there waiting. That same psychological power is rooted in a physical reality, a defiance of time made possible by a blueprint that actively fought decay. The pyramids have not merely endured, they have resisted the relentless assault of wind, water, and sand for millennia through a set of deliberate anti-erosion measures. The choice of stone was the first and most critical line of defense. The outer casing, now mostly gone, was crafted from brilliant white Chura limestone, a stone specifically quarried for its fine grain and low porosity. This made it far more resistant to water absorption and the corrosive effects of wind-borne sand than the softer core stones. But the design itself was a masterclass in environmental management. The pyramid's iconic shape is not just geometrically perfect, it is hydrologically brilliant. Its steep, smooth faces were engineered to shed water with incredible efficiency. During the rare but powerful desert rainstorms, water would not pool or seep into the joints. Instead, it would cascade down the sides in a controlled sheet, diverted away from the foundation by a complex network of gutters and channels carved directly into the bedrock around the base. This prevented the subsurface erosion that could have destabilized the entire structure from below. How could they possibly anticipate the cumulative effect of thousands of years of weathering? Their blueprint was not static, it was a living document that included long-term maintenance protocols. Priests and custodians likely had specific rituals for inspecting the casing stones after major storms, clearing sand drifts from the drainage channels, and making minor repairs. They thought in timescales we struggled to comprehend, planning for a future they would never see. Even the materials themselves seemed designed for longevity. The mortar used between the blocks has been found to have unique crystalline properties. Some researchers suggest it contains compounds that allow it to self-heal tiny fractures over time, as minerals in the moisture slowly recrystallize and seal the gaps. It is as if the pyramid was given a kind of stone-based immune system. This forward-thinking approach to durability is a stunning lesson in sustainable design that modern architects are only now rediscovering as we grapple with the environmental impact of our own disposable buildings. The pyramid stands as a 4,500-year-old testament to building not just for the present, but for eternity, a structure that was designed from the very first stone to be its own guardian. That massive, sustained effort required more than just architectural genius. It demanded an economic engine of incredible power. How do you feed, clothe, and supply tens of thousands of workers for generations without a single coin ever changing hands? The blueprint extended far beyond the stones, detailing a sophisticated resource management system that functioned as the kingdom's circulatory system. At its heart was a complex barter economy, a network of reciprocal obligation and exchange that fueled the entire endeavor. Farmers from the fertile Nile Delta did not pay taxes in gold, they paid in grain, in livestock, and in the labor of their sons. This vast influx of food was stored in massive, state-controlled granaries, which acted as the project's central bank. From these storehouses, workers received their daily bread, beer, and fish as wages, a direct exchange of labor for sustenance. This system created a self-perpetuating cycle. The state provided security and infrastructure, the people provided the labor and agricultural surplus, and the pyramid project itself became the ultimate economic driver, consuming raw materials and producing a monument that reinforced the divine authority of the state, which in turn ensured the cycle continued. But the logistics of materials were even more complex. How did they ensure a constant, reliable flow of limestone from Tura, granite from Aswan over 500 miles away, and copper from distant mines in the Sinai? The answer was a centralized administration of breathtaking efficiency. Scribes tracked every shipment, every boatload of stone, every sack of emmer wheat. They managed a just-in-time delivery system that would be the envy of modern corporations, ensuring that barges laden with stone arrived at the Giza docks just as the previous shipment was being unloaded. This was not a haphazard operation. It was a meticulously choreographed ballet of supply and demand that stretched across the entire length of Egypt. This grand economic project did more than just build a tomb, it forged a nation. The need to organize on such a colossal scale accelerated innovations in writing, mathematics, and administration. It stimulated trade, creating demand for specialized tools and skilled craftsmen, from coppersmiths to boat builders. The Pyramid Project, in essence, acted as a massive public works program that unified the country's economy around a single, inspiring goal. It demonstrated that a society's greatest architectural achievements are not just symbols of power, but the direct result of a healthy, interconnected, and brilliantly managed economic system, a lesson in national organization that resonates powerfully even today. That grand economic engine was powered by something even more valuable than grain or stone. It was fueled by knowledge. The construction site of the Great Pyramid functioned as the ancient world's most advanced university, a sprawling, open-air campus where every task was a practical lesson in applied science. Young apprentices did not learn from scrolls alone. They learned by doing, standing beside master masons who understood the subtle grain of limestone and granite. They absorbed geometry by laying out the pyramid's perfect square base, and they grasped astronomy by helping to align the corners with the cardinal directions. This was a continuous, multi-generational transfer of skill, ensuring that the blueprint for building the impossible was not lost when a single architect died. How did they encode such complex information without a formal written curriculum? The pyramid itself was the ultimate textbook. Its very dimensions held mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio, lessons in advanced proportion that an initiate could learn to measure and replicate. The specific angles of the passages taught principles of structural stress, while the celestial alignments of the shafts provided a perpetual, hands-on course in observational astronomy. This knowledge was protected and transmitted through a strict system of apprenticeships, often within families or closed guilds, where secrets were passed from father to son, from master to apprentice, in an unbroken chain of practical experience. This tradition of merging theoretical knowledge with hands-on skill is the direct ancestor of our modern systems of apprenticeship and higher education. It reminds us that the most enduring knowledge is not just written down but built, experienced, and lived, creating a legacy of learning literally set in stone for the future. This alignment with the stars and the planet's very shape points toward an even deeper layer of connection. The pyramids may sit at the crossroads of invisible pathways of energy that crisscross the globe. Some researchers propose these structures were deliberately placed upon ley lines, hypothetical alignments that are said to channel the Earth's own natural power. The pyramid's unique geometry then acts as a lens, focusing and amplifying this subtle energy within its chambers. It transforms the entire monument from a passive building into an active receiver, humming with the planet's own frequency. How could an ancient civilization possibly detect these invisible currents without any modern instruments? The blueprint hints at methods we might dismiss as mystical today, like dowsing. Practitioners might have used rods or pendulums to sense variations in the Earth's magnetic field or subtle shifts in groundwater, identifying specific points where this energy was most potent. This was not magic, but a sophisticated form of intuitive geomancy, a science of reading the living landscape. This secret weaves the pyramids into a vast, global tapestry. They are not isolated wonders, but key nodes in a worldwide network of sacred sites, from Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, all potentially positioned on these powerful energetic lines. This suggests a forgotten ancient science that viewed the Earth as a single, living organism, with a circulatory system of energy that they knew how to tap. It is a concept that modern geobiology is only just beginning to take seriously, using sensitive equipment to measure the very telluric forces the pyramid builders seem to have mastered by feel and intuition. Their blueprint shows an understanding that a truly eternal structure must be rooted not just in solid rock, but in the vibrant, flowing energy of the world itself. Such immense knowledge inevitably carries a profound ethical weight. The builders of the pyramids possessed engineering secrets that could have been used to dominate and control, yet their ultimate creation was a monument to eternity, not to war. This choice reveals a core philosophical stance, a world view where advanced technology was not an end in itself, but a sacred tool in service of a higher spiritual purpose. The entire endeavor was a communal project, uniting the entire kingdom in a shared goal that transcended any single individual's power. So why was this sophisticated understanding of physics, mathematics, and energy eventually lost to the sands of time? Perhaps it was not merely forgotten, but deliberately safeguarded. Knowledge of this magnitude is a double-edged sword. In the wrong hands, the ability to shape stone with sound or harness the Earth's energy could have become a weapon of unimaginable destruction. Its disappearance from the historical record might have been a protective measure, a way to ensure that such power would not be corrupted by future generations not yet ready for its responsibility. This forces a stark comparison with our own technological trajectory. We live in an age of breathtaking innovation, but we must ask ourselves a difficult question. Are we building for longevity and harmony, as the pyramid builders did, or are we primarily driven by short-term profit and fleeting power? Our creations, from sprawling digital networks to transformative energy sources, hold the potential to either elevate humanity or deepen its divides. The silent, enduring pyramid stands as a timeless judge, challenging us to consider the ultimate purpose of our own blueprints. It asks if we are constructing a legacy that will inspire awe for millennia, or one that future civilizations will unearth with a sense of profound sorrow and confusion. These ancient blueprints reveal a civilization whose mastery of engineering, astronomy, and materials science still challenges our modern understanding. Each secret we have uncovered, from the celestial alignments locked in stone to the hidden chambers designed to harness energy, adds another profound piece to this incredible puzzle. The pyramids stand as far more than silent relics of a forgotten age. They are active, living lessons in innovation, demonstrating a form of sustainable design that worked in harmony with the planet, and a testament to the boundless potential of human ingenuity when a society unites behind a visionary goal. As our technology evolves and allows us to dig even deeper into their mysteries, let us carry forward the most vital lesson they offer. The greatest blueprints are not merely plans for construction. They are designs that inspire us to reach higher, to question our limits, and to build a legacy worthy of the ages. What part of this ancient mystery resonates most deeply with you? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.